Meeple Marathon. Today we are going to play through the tutorial scenario, the walkthrough scenario for Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin. So this is separate from the rule book here, and if you have not unpacked your copy of Kings of Ruin yet, I highly suggest literally just like unpacking it and then diving into this, because there's lots of cards that I made the mistake of reorganizing, thinking they were just out of order, and they are not. So they're specifically at the beginning of stacks for a reason, to make this easier. But anyways, I have gone ahead and gone through these setup steps. So if you are not familiar with Tainted Grail, it is a Seventh Continent style exploration game where the world around you is going to unfold through these various map tile cards. And as we explore, we're going to be adding these cards in the form of weirdness locations. So they're going to be grayed out. We're not really quite sure what's there. These waypoints here, these tall miniatures, are what kind of push away the darkness, push away the fog. So that's why these three spots right here are revealed and are clean and are not damaging to us. So we are here at the Stone Teeth Knolls, and there's lots of things that can happen on these locations. For example, within this location, I can spend 2 energy to hunt among the knolls. So I would gain 2 food. I would draw and resolve a purple encounter. If I move down here, I would immediately spend, spend 2 time and then draw and resolve a green encounter. You can gain 1 magic for 2 time. And over here is also some time. So these time symbols, I think, are going to work a little differently than the ones that we saw in Tainted Grail. So let's just go ahead and jump into this playthrough. So that's it. We are ready to go. Start of day. It's now dawn. Gerdwin is ready to start her journey south, following the directions she received from a member of the Ironwall Brigade. Nothing will happen during your first start of the day, but let's go through all the steps following the order listed on the dark green help card, Order of the Day, which I happen to have right here. There we go. Oh, and there was a whole letter sent to Gerdwin, her mentor per se. I'm not going to read that. It is mainly just flavor text, but for the sake of spoilers, if you are interested, you can read her letter yourself. So, all right, there are no start of the day effects available for you to resolve and no time markers to remove. Every location is touching a waystone, so you don't flip any locations to the weirdness side. No guardians are roaming around, so you can skip the step related to them. Finally, there are no events to reveal, as they are not used in this tutorial. So normally event cards would be up in one of these areas. Normally I wouldn't have this sitting here, but just for the purposes of this tutorial, I've smushed everything together. All right. After the start of the day, characters may perform actions. Each action in Tainted Grail is marked with a special icon that shows its cost. You can find explanation of each action on one of the help cards. Actions Overview. So here again, on the back side here, yes, Actions Overview. So explore costs nothing, but then traveling costs 1 energy to move from one location to the next. So as her first action, Gerdwin moves toward her first destination, the old pier near the slave path. Okay, so we're wanting to travel south. Perform the travel action. Pay 1 energy, move the marker on the energy track from 6 to 5. So here is our player board. As we collect food, wealth, experience, and magic, they're going to go here. These represent how proficient we are in the various aspects of diplomacy and combat. And then here is our health and our energy and our terror level, which right now is at 0. As you lose health, it caps, that's why this little red bar is here, it caps how much energy you can gain. So But right now we're healthy and all that jazz, so we're going to spend 1 energy to move down here into the slave path as the tutorial is telling us to do. As you arrive there, before you check if there are any locations connected to the slave path that could reveal, you must resolve the instant effect. That's the one with the lightning bolt. In this case, an automatic encounter is triggered as soon as you enter the location. Plus, place 2. So here we go. Here are the 2 time tokens. So basically it means we can't just, it will be 3 turns from now before we can come down and take on that green encounter again. As you saw, the start of day had a step that instructs you to remove those times from locations. Placing them indicates that the instant action will not trigger for a number of days. Take the green encounter card you've placed near the map during the setup, place it face up so that you can see plenty of free space to the right of the encounter card. So, this is one of the coolest aspects of the game, is how they do combat and diplomacy. So here is our first encounter, and it appears to be an easy one. It's a large, weird rat. Okay. So, let's see. Time to fight. Both the encounter card and your combat cards have keys. Playing encounters essentially means connecting keys to get bonuses and using card abilities. Play the disabling bolt card. Attach it to the right edge of the encounter as seen below. So, I skipped this other part here. Read the encounter card carefully. To win, you need to gather a number of markers in the combat pool equal to or higher than the encounter value, which can be found next to the encounter name, in this case, 5. So we need to hit it for 5. It's going to tell us what it's going to be doing at various hit point counts. As it starts to lose health, it gets more aggressive. Or no, actually, as we hit it, it gets less aggressive. Draw 3 cards from your combat deck. Check the enemy traits, which you can find above the attack table. This one specifies. Okay, so we need some of our. We need combat encounters. We'll put this one way up there. And icon glossary we have here. And enemy traits is another card. I'm just going to keep this off to the side. So this weird rat has, at the end of the encounter, remove this card from the game. All right, that's his only special stuff. We're going to draw 3 cards from the combat deck. I did not shuffle this. It didn't say to, so I'm hoping that the cards I need are right here. I have gone ahead and sleeved these. These are the only cards I sleeve for this game, simply because you shuffle these decks a lot. Every time you finish a combat, you shuffle them back up. So, all right, you also ignore the delay ability step. There aren't any, so we're good there. We check the ability. You don't need to pick an active character because we're playing solo. Time to fight. All right, now we have come back. So, play the disabling bolt card. Attach it to the right edge of the encounter as seen below. This causes both halves of several keys to connect. So, the harder a encounter is, the less stuff it has to line up with. But you can see that it's giving us the ability to use our aggression, our courage, and our practicality, and even magic. So we are going to, it's a disabling bolt, right? Yeah. We're going to go ahead and line up disabling bolt right here. So you can see boom, boom, boom. Nothing down here, nothing at magic, but I all of a sudden have connected for a lot on it. So you only gain the bonuses, the right half of the key, for connected attribute keys if you have this specific attribute level, which I do. It's single aggression, single courage, single practicality. I actually have double practicality here. Gerderwin has 1, 1, and 2. We talked about that. So the top key grants the bonus, which I believe that's draw a card. Yeah, this card can be played after your first card in a turn. Okay, that's different. I thought that was draw a card. But the next 2 keys put markers out. So we'll take 2 out of the box here. Whoops, that's a purple one. I'm not using purple yet. And we'll just put these, normally I think they just go on the card. the tutorial has you putting them above the card. But all right, the bottom key, free key, always connects and has no requirements, just the multiply. However, there's nothing to multiply this time. All right, so now let's check the text of the disabling bolt card. It has an ability that triggers now on placement, so that's the arrow pointing down. Gain. Let's see. There is one character in play. Guard one, so you gain 2 more. Place them in the combat pool. All right. So gain 1. Okay, as there are characters in play. I got you. So there we go. This thing's 1 away from death. All right. The card also has this ability here, which lines up with this. So this card has the skull ability that triggers during the enemy attack step, so you don't have to worry about it now. Each turn you may only play 1 card plus as many additional cards as you can connect using the bonus. Okay, so this is the bonus I need to connect up here with, well, double aggression I don't have. So play the silver bolt. You may do it because it contains a bonus. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, okay. That's what this means. I can play this because I've connected this symbol here. So, I covered up the ability. That's important because I covered up the skull ability over here. So this thing is not going to run away after seeing my disabling bolt. My silver bolt has, I guess, stunned it into place. The place down effect is if you're fighting a purple encounter, gain 2. I'm not, so that doesn't come into play. And then the attribute with the courage symbol shows me drawing a card. So draw 1 combat card. So we're going to do that. So here we go. We have 2 defends now. I have a feeling those are going to come in very handy. The place down ability of the silver bolt now triggers, but it does nothing because you are in a green encounter. We discussed that. Play 1 more card, defend, because it contains a lightning symbol that we can match with this card. Because I have double practicality, I can link this now. I could also spend a magic to link it here. So, notice there are 2 icons from the silver bolt card, which means that you need at least 2 in that attribute level. We do that. I could have played magic, so we are good. Defend has 3 abilities. The first one instructs you to put a time token on the card. All right. If we keep it there and remove the time token, we get to draw a card. If we cover that ability and then the skull ability, so when the encounter attacks, we get to prevent 2 damage. You have 1 card left in your hand, but playing a second defend won't do much. In this case, proceed to the next phase. It is time for the large word rat to attack. In Tainted Grail, each enemy has many different moves depending on the value of the combat pool. There are 4 markers in the combat pool. So the weird rat combat card says at 3 to 4, way down there. At 3 to 4 markers in the combat pool, the attack deals 1 damage. Before you apply that damage, we look at the last card in the sequence. It has the skull ability, which we spoke about. And the triggers during the enemy attack, preventing 2 damage. This means this time you lose no health. Additionally, the icon there with the, looks like 3 little towers with a circle around it, means that this effect applies to all party members. So, but we're playing solo, so that doesn't matter. During the end of turn, you must discard until you have 3 cards. Not a problem. So we get to draw 1 card at the beginning of our turn. Still fighting the rat, though. So we're going to turn the page here. Second round of combat turn. First, check the sequence for delayed abilities. So this is where we're going to remove this. Ta-da! And we get to draw 1 combat card. So, ba-ba! 2 powerful bolts. Okay, well, we have a defend and 2 powerful bolts. So what are we going to play? We're going to play powerful bolt here. Bam. All right. It connects up here, so we get to add 2 to the pool. And I'm going to use this as a 5, and he now has a 6. So there we go. Additionally, its free key gives you 1 more. So that's coming from right here. Perform the victory check. There are 7 markers in the combat pool compared to the encounter's value of 5, which means Gerdwin has 1. The loot is 1 food, so I get to take my tiny little half loaf of bread here, add it into my food tray. There we go. 1 food, place 1 marker in the food slot of Gerdwin's character tray. If you don't have the upgraded resources, you would simply take a red cube like that. Additionally, remove the encounter card from the game. I'll just put you up there for right now. Now at this point, all of these cards come back, and I would reshuffle my combat deck before entering in to combat again. So, first exploration. Now it's time for a second action of the day. All that was 1 action. So, pretty cool. We only spent 1 energy to walk down here and take on that rat on the slave path. So, we're trying to discover what's at this location, hiding and unraveling the stories. So characters must explore. That's why your next action is to explore the slave path. So, it's interesting because we can explore the Fomorian ruins and gain 1 magic. That takes 2, but we're simply going to spend 1. Where's my my start of day actions here? You can see 0 to explore. Cost me 0. That's right. So let's get these cards out of the way, and we're going to bring in the big book. All right, so this part is important. It says that the tutorial exploration journal is found at the back, the very back of the exploration journal. So this is the deluxe exploration journal. It has the same words, but these are tucked in the very back. I don't know why. I feel like it would be a lot better to put it in the front, but it's in the back. So we're gonna flip here to 150 and start reading. Okay. Still shaken after your sudden encounter with the creature of weirdness. Oh yeah, the rat. You sprint down the dangerous path. Soon a magnificent vista opens before you. A cove surrounded by high mountains bites deep into Avalon. There's also an old Fomorian pier where... This can't be right. The ship is already setting off. Sails full of the morning breeze. Why didn't they wait for you? You now curse every slight pause you made to catch a breath or fight a rat. Still, you will not give up. Using the rest of your strength... where was it? Still, you will not give up. Using the rest of your strength, you run down the dark path. After a few steps, you stumble upon something and painfully tumble to the ground. It's a man slumped with his back against a rock. Loud curses freeze in your throat as you realize this is Keelan Coldfire, commander of the Iron Wall Brigade. He finishes tightening the bandage on his bleeding wound, nods toward the ship, and says, I should have known sending Rolf first was a bad idea. He did not wait, damned coward. You may try to get to the pier and signal them to turn back. As for me, I could barely stand. I would only slow you down. Tainted Grail is a game of choices. It's up to you on how to play your character and which path to pursue. Just keep in mind that many decisions affect the story even in this tutorial. So now we choose one. Do we help Keelan get down to the pier? Do we run to the pier alone? Do we tell Keelan the boat is too far away and that you need another plan? I mean, he would understand. He's not dying, so we're going to run to the pier. After dropping any unnecessary gear, you forge ahead, running down the path and shouting at the boat to turn back. But when you reach the pier, the ship is already too far gone. A long-haired man sits at the stern. You're pretty sure he sees you, yet he makes no move. You're exhausted. You want to cry. Slowly, you make your way back to Keelan, who shakes his head and says, So we're both left behind. We need to get out of this together, it seems. So we gain 1 terror. Makes us scared. And then we're going to go to verse 3. So we could have jumped here anyways. All right. The boat has sailed, and the only other road leads through the King's Pass and the mountains to the northwest. You offer support to Keelan, and together you march back toward Stone Teeth Knolls, or at least you try. Keelan's first steps make it painfully obvious he is in no shape to walk further. It's no use. I can't get far in my state. We need one of those healing mixtures they sell at King's Pass to put me right. I guess you don't have a pouch of gold with you. You shake your head, and Keelan continues. Right, neither do I. The people in the past learned to prey on travelers. You will need something precious. This gives us one option. There are old Fomorian ruins near the dock. Maybe you could find something there you could trade at the settlement. Any piece infused with ancient magic would do. Be quick. I'm not sure I will last much longer. Exploration ends. This phrase means that it's time to close the exploration journal and get back to the game. Go to part 6 of the open and play instructions. So back to part 6. It says your pockets are empty and you need something to trade for the medicine. Fortunately, the slave path has the ability to gain magic. So we're going to look down here. We're going to spend 2 energy to gain a tiny little thing of magic there. Oh, so now it's time to head to the other settlement and get the medicine. Okay. And get the medicine. Pay 2 energy to resolve 2 travel actions, one after the other. So 1, 2. After the second travel action, Gerwin ends up with less than 2. Yes, that is correct. So we're going to go boom, boom. All right, so since we ended with less than 2 energy, she takes a hit because she's exhausted. Oh, not because she's exhausted, because of her weakness, which is overloaded. After you travel, if you have less than 2, you lose 1 health. So that's just specific to her. You need to make sure you pay attention to the special abilities on your player board. Then the location has an instant effect icon. So we're going to take these 2, put them there, and now we will take on a blue encounter. All right. But let's see, unlike the previous encounter, this is a diplomatic challenge. A very inquisitive and likely drunk man stops you as you enter the location. So place the blue encounter face up in front of you so that you have plenty of space to the right of the card. So this is a rowdy peasant. At the end of the encounter, remove this card from the game. And if we can finish in the green, we gain 1 wealth and 1 food. Worst case, everybody would lose 1 health and gain 1 terror if we lose. So here we've got the opposite side of the combat actions is the diplomacy card, and I've got all my other helper cards down here. We are good to go. So diplomatic encounters have a time in which you must finish the encounter, called duration, that is tracked with a duration die. To win, you will move the marker on the affinity track from its starting position. Okay, so it's saying to use this die to track our number of rounds. So 2 rounds. Okay, way up here, teeny tiny. So we have 2 rounds to deal with the rowdy peasant. Then we're going to take this teeny tiny little piece here, which is, I think, a Kickstarter exclusive, but anyways, it's used to, whoops, doesn't stay on there very easily. It's used to do that. So there we go. Okay. Draw 3 cards, place the marker on the affinity S slot of the affinity track, and we are good to go. So it's saying we should play the impatience card. Well, yeah, we're impatient. We're trying to get the medicine delivered, and this drunkard is just messing with us. So this has the this symbol up here. It has that symbol, which in the closing half of the empathy key, a special diplomacy bonus that varies depending on the encounter's card and attribute. Wait, okay. So it has, I'm going to call that the Celtic symbol. It has the Celtic symbol in the closing half of the empathy key, a special diplomacy bonus that varies depending on the encounter card and attribute that it corresponds to. Gerdwin does not have any empathy. She's not very empathetic. So that does not trigger. You can see here, that's what it lines up to. So this varies depending on who you're having a diplomatic encounter with. So that Celtic symbol does not apply here. The free key bonus also doesn't apply because there is a 0 on the opening half. So he's not giving us any bonuses. Unfortunately, it would have, if it had been a ×2, we would have won. We would have been done. Our card, however, does have the placement. So it says place 2 charges on this card. So we'll just use 2 of these universal markers. You may use this card's ability to discard the last card in the sequence unless there are no more markers on the card. Okay, and you'll notice that this card has the next set of things I need to link up with on this side, so I don't actually cover up this card in doing so. So, moving on to the next page of the tutorial, you don't want to play an addition. You don't want to play any additional cards for now, so it's time for the enemy response. So this says first lose 1 time. Okay, so enemy response, lose 1 time. So we're going to tick down to 1. Da, 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 da. Next, we're going to move the marker down the affinity slot. So it's gonna, this doesn't slide too well. It feels like it was designed for a sleeved cards, which I can see. And then during the end of the turn, you must discard until you have 3 cards under my limit. So I will draw a diplomacy card, and I now have Keen Sight. So, trying to figure out how to hold on to this book and play with 1 hand. Your new turn begins. There are no cards in the sequence that have delayed abilities, so you can go directly to the playing card step. Play the Stubbornness card. Okay. Stubbornness. Here we go. Not lining up on much. Okay, notice that the Impatience card has opening halves of the keys on the right side. This is because it's a passive card. Passive cards always have their effects visible and are never covered. Now resolve all effects. So we gain the free bonus. So we move this up 1. We're back to start. And then this card's text ability will trigger only if this card is discarded from the sequence. So let's do it. Because Impatience allows us to discard this card. So this says if this card is discarded, we can move it up 1 and draw a card. So we're going to discard this card. Our little tracker moves up 1 and we get to draw. And we drew War Stories. Ooh, okay. So we are good there. We pay our charge, put it in discard pile. As in combat, to play any card beyond the first one, you need the lightning key bonus. Okay. So you can now play Intimidation. Put it into the sequence. So we have Intimidation here, and we just happen to be lining up our instant or our play ability with Caution, which we have 1 Caution, so we're good there. And this one says the marker on the affinity track. Yeah. Place in a sequence. The Celtic bonus doesn't apply again because it's up where it wants double empathy and we don't have any empathy. But the Caution track is there, so we will trigger this up. And then then the last thing it's going to say, essentially we've won at this point. The marker on the affinity track is now in the green slot, which means the conclusion is in your favor if the encounter would finish now. But first you must resolve the place down effect, which is saying discard 2 cards. Discard Intimidation and Impatience cards and put them in the discard pile. Lose 1 time, finish your turn, and go to the enemy response. As lowering the duration is the first thing this encounter does during this phase, when the die reaches 0, do not resolve any effects further. In this case, we ignore the downward effect. So we actually have to, this thing, I should have discarded this charge, but this card says to discard both of those. But this stays up, we tick this down to 0, it goes away, and we have defeated this encounter. So the diplomatic encounter is over. You can resolve the green outcome, which is gain 1 wealth. So we get a tiny little coin and 1 food. So another half of bread. There we go. Now resolve the trait as it triggers. Remove that card from the game. Yada, yada, yada. Don't throw away your little tracker, though. May just end up using a cube. Okay. So we have taken care of that. Part 10, entering the King's Pass. After resolving this location action, the instant action, which we just did, you check whether your travel revealed any new locations, and it actually did. King's Pass has 2 direction keys, aiming down and left, 127 and 109. So we finally get to bring these cards out here, and we're going to put Weirdness side up, 109 right here, and 127 right here. So until we can get a waypoint up into this spot, this card stays put. Until we come down here and get a waypoint right here, this spot stays in its weirdness. All right. So it's now time to explore this location and find the medicine you were looking for. Go to the King's Pass section of 110. So again, that is a free action. So we don't have any. So we get to bring this back out. King's Pass is the only known path through the mountains, occupying the center of the Western Avalon, a lifeline that connects many struggling human settlements. With long-distance sea travel made impossible by clouds of weirdness and perilous rocks, those who wish to visit other provinces must get through the pass. Unfortunately, it also means that people from the small settlement that sprang up here learned to take advantage of weary travelers. Nothing is free. Everything must be bartered for or earned. So in Tainted Grail, some decisions have costs. For example, if you pick either of the 2 choices listed below, you must pay an energy. So I guess we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll move it down. We're now plenty exhausted. Additionally, the second option requires you to pay 1 wealth or 1 magic. Okay. So do we pick? Yeah, we'll pick the bottom one. Generally, if you have the resources to pay and one of the options gives you the option to pay, you take that one. So I'm going to give up my wealth. So we're going to jump to verse 3. So it takes a while to find the right draught from a reputable source and then to haggle the price, but in the end you manage to get the potion. As you pocket the small bottle, you notice commotion at the edge of the settlement. People point toward the road you just came from and the cove to the south. Soon you notice what it is that they're pointing at. Weirdness approaches. One of the waystones protecting the pass must have failed, and now this strange color-shifting fog creeps up the trail. It already almost covers the bend of the road where you left Krelin, and you shudder to think about what will happen to him surrounded by this corrupting power. So we gain the Left Behind Part 2 status. Somehow we missed the first one, so I'll mark that on my sheet off here to the side. Remove a waystone from the bottom right corner of location 150. Okay, so that one goes away. Go to verse 2. So we're going to flip this giant heavy book back over. And then it says, your fists clench in powerless anger. There's no chance you will get back to Keelan before nightfall, and spending a night in weirdness is too much of a risk, even for you. Oh, flipping this back over. This leaves you one option. Rest in the settlement and move on tomorrow. Sadly, by then, the road you had left your commander on will be entirely covered in weirdness. So, Gerdwin has 0 energy. Not only is she unable to perform any more actions, but she also has ended her day exhausted. Soon you will see what that means. Your exploration now ends. Go to part 11 of the open and play instructions. So we'll move this over here. And this basically says Gerdwin is wounded, has 0 left, and if you look at the energy track, the slot marked as 0 and red has exhausted next to it. So we're going to resolve end of day on our card here. So let's look. Rest. We're resting automatically. We gain some energy back. Since we're exhausted, we only gain 4. But we have the option to recover since we have some food. So I'll spend 1 food. That allows us to heal for 1, gain 1 additional energy. That's how you can get up into your bonus. And heal 1 terror, lose 1 terror, which we had as well. We're not in weirdness, so we don't need to suffer that. We don't have any XP. We're not in a location with the vision icon. Oh, and this should have flipped, I think, because the waystone wasn't there anymore. And then start of day. So we're going to come back to the start of day, which it tells us part 12, start of the second day. So we remove 1 from slave path. Oh, okay. And then flip slave path and king's pass. Oh no, remove 1 from here, remove 1 from here, then flip. This location no longer touches any waystone, so it has become covered in weirdness. The time token stays on the location, but the action effect will still trigger because it doesn't look like this. Okay. It says you have to go back to save Keelan. Perform 2 travel actions. So that's going to be 1, 2. To run back this way. Boom, boom. And now each party member gains a terror instantly. And then Book of Secrets, verse 262. So let's just make sure that's what it's telling us to do. Okay, so it's just reminding you that the tutorial has its own Book of Secrets. And yeah, here we go. It's got lots of books of secrets, actually. So, weirdness, the bane of humans on Avalon. Though it sometimes appears as a fog, it is so much more than a chaotic power of change, an ancient primal magic that can turn into anything at a whim. You've seen its coils turn people into horrific mutants. You've heard strange tales of those who met their long-lost friends and lovers in the midst of travelers who walked the weirdness-covered path only to discover some place that should not be there. You push through the fog and it moves around you, forming ethereal shapes that resemble Keelan. You have no doubt that, given enough time, the weirdness would form an illusion to lead you astray, deeper into the mists. Fortunately, you don't have to go far. The familiar bend of the road is just ahead. You're half expecting to find a dead body, but instead of one motionless shape, you discover 2. One belongs to Keelan, the other to the soldier who first directed you toward the pier. He is twisted, distorted. In place of an arm, a spined tentacle writhes and an angry expression is frozen on his face. It doesn't take long to realize what happened here. Afflicted by the weirdness, the soldier tried to reach the dock. He found Keelan, attacked him, and a slight moan that comes from the commander suggests he's still alive. If you have the Left Behind Part 2 status, go to 627, which we do. You pour the liquid into Keelan's parched lips. He looks beyond your help. But he looks beyond your help. He motions you closer. If you have the Left Behind Part 1 status, go to 629. We don't. Otherwise, go to 630. Keelan finds it hard to speak, each word an effort. Don't worry about me. What you did was not in vain. At last, now I know you're the right person to take care of this. With difficulty, he removes something from behind his belt and hands it to you, a rolled-up piece of torn fabric. As you unroll the fabric, your heart begins to race. The banner of the Iron Wall Brigade. With a weakening voice, Keelan reminds you of a place and time the survivors were to meet in case the brigade became scattered. Be there with the banner, he says, so that we may rise again. Okay. Interesting. All right. Where was I? Soon after he dies. Oh, awesome. In the distance, another waystone begins to flicker. Soon the entire King's Pass will be covered in weirdness, but you have no time to imagine what it means for people of Western Avalon. You swear to the motionless Keelan you will not fail. Then you set off again through the weirdness. Congratulations, you've reached the end of this tutorial. Your exploration now ends. Go to part 4 of the open and play instructions. So somehow we missed this encounter. So while this tutorial gives players a general grasp of the game, there are many additional rules it does not cover, such as parties, party actions, event cards, character setup, and soon on. Before playing the full campaign, we encourage you to read the full rulebook at least once. Okay, so I don't know how I got around not taking on this first encounter, but I want to check it out. So, glowing moth. Okay. Interesting. We're going to take on this glowing moth just for the fun of it. So you guys can see what a combat looks like without so much hand holding. So we're going to shuffle up our combat deck here and have a go. So 1, 2, 3. And so we have Disabling Bolt, which would be helpful. This thing has 5 health. We have Silver Bolt again and Weakening Bolt. I mean, her thing is that she's got a crossbow. So this is a great one to have at the end. Yeah. So I think we're going to play this one here. So this one, this symbol up here doesn't matter because this is my first card. I'm lining up 2 spots that I do have matching symbols on, so I can place 2 damage tokens on this guy. Also, upon placement, we've seen this card before, I can place 2 more because I'm playing solo. If we were to leave this out, the enemy can't run away. So we're good there. Now, I could stop, and he would essentially give me a terror, and then we'd move on. But I think, yeah, this one is perfect. So what this gives us now is the ability to draw a card because I'm lining up that symbol. I can play this card because this one is a ×1, and that's my action symbol. And then this placement one says if you're fighting a purple encounter, gain 2, which would give us 6. So there we go. That's more than we need. We can simply finish. We would gain 1 magic, and there we go. These would go back. And as you gain XP, not only do you gain additional things that go along with these traits, but you get additional combat and diplomacy cards. So that was pretty good. Yeah. Hopefully that gave you a general idea of what happens. I don't know how we missed not fighting that purple monster, but that's fine. We showed it off anyways. But yeah, that was a decent tutorial. I think the biggest thing is that realizing that the back of the book has the tutorial section, not the front and not the main part. So otherwise, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.